Sir Thomas Robert Malthus, who shook the world in 1798 by giving an essay on the relationship between population growth rate and food supply. Mainly, Sir Robert Thomas Malthus was an English economist. He was very influential in the area of political economy and demography. He said that the population growth would increase exponentially. By this, he means that the population would increase so much that it wouldn't be in the match of food supply. He said that the food supply would increase linearly. By linear, he means that it wouldn't increase so much like the population growth rate. Now he said that the food supply, the resources, the consumer goods, it wouldn't be enough for those populations. And he said that within 25 years, the population would become double. Now this was so much pessimistic. This is also known as Malthusian Trap, population trap, and population crisis. He said that the population growth rate would increase so much that the food supply wouldn't be efficient. And by this, he means that the people would reduce their births to the child, and by this, they would decrease the population, and the food would become enough for those populations. Now, if the population growth rate didn't stop here, then there would be a mass famine, mass hunger, which would come up because the food supply wouldn't increase and the population growth rate wouldn't decrease. And the nature would bounce. The nature would rebound in a sense that it would create famines, it would create wars, it would create such diseases which can't be curable, and it would wipe out those population which is extra on this food supply. Now, if we see such a principle is being applicable nowadays as well, like if we see UN is using those policies for population growth, and they say that the population growth should decrease because the food supply is not efficient for them. If the food supply is not efficient for them, then the countries like Pakistan, India, China, which have abundance of population. Now, population has one good effect, that it increases the quality of your capital, human capital. But another thing, which is food supply, which is very much important in this sense, and it would create poverty, extreme poverty. Now, if extreme poverty leads us to inequalities, and this inequality in result have famines, wars, where the underdeveloped countries would do war with the developed countries, and they would catch all of their resources to feed their own population, to feed their masses. Now, this policy nowadays is also used in some of the highly developed countries, and they have reduced it. Like if we see in America, in England, in UK, and in so many more developed countries like Scandinavian countries, and we have China, one baby rule. So these kind of policies are also being very motivated by the great Malthus principle or the Malthus law. And Malthus, mainly this pessimistic idea which shook the world, eventually created an efficient way to deal with the population growth rate.